The entire first-class cabin got quieter than usual the moment he said it. Not because people were shocked by what he believed, but because he had made the terrible decision to say it out loud. Inside a luxury international flight bound for Paris, a sharply dressed black woman had just settled comfortably into seat 2A, window side, first-class suite, champagne untouched, noise-canceling headphones resting neatly beside a designer handbag. She looked calm, polished, unbothered, exactly like someone who had absolutely no interest in becoming anyone's in-flight lesson. Unfortunately for her, a man across the aisle had different plans. His name was Bradley Stone, mid-40s, expensive watch, overpriced confidence, and the unmistakable energy of a man who confused money with relevance. He glanced at the woman, then at her seat number, then laughed, not quietly, not accidentally. A full amused laugh dripping with public disrespect. Well, that's new. A few nearby passengers immediately looked up, because conflict enters a first-class cabin the way thunder enters a wedding. Impossible to ignore. The black woman slowly turned her head toward him. Expression neutral. Deep brown skin. Elegant cream blazer over silk blouse. Hair styled into a sleek low bun. Minimal jewelry. Maximum presence. Her name was Vanessa Cole. And Bradley Stone had just volunteered for a humiliation seminar. He shook his head with a smirk. Did they overbook economy or something? There it was. No subtlety. Just polished nonsense served at cruising altitude. A woman nearby lowered her tablet slowly. Another passenger removed one AirPod. Everyone now understood entertainment had begun before takeoff. Vanessa blinked once. Excuse me. Bradley leaned back further into his seat, arms folded confidently. I'm just surprised. Boss, this section is usually reserved for premium passengers. Yes, the sentence had arrived. Predictable. Wait, historically disastrous. Vanessa glanced briefly around the cabin, then back at him. It still is. A man across the cabin coughed into his drink suspiciously hard, possibly hiding laughter. Bradley's jaw tightened slightly. He had expected discomfort, maybe even apology. Not calm resistance delivered like a board meeting memo. He leaned forward. You know what I mean. Cowardice's favorite phrase. Always used when someone lacks the courage to own their actual implication. Vanessa smiled faintly. No, boss. I'd love for you to explain it clearly. A nearby flight attendant froze mid-step. That sentence had landed beautifully. Bradley suddenly found himself trapped between confidence and accountability. A deeply uncomfortable location. He scoffed. Look. He gestured vaguely around the luxury cabin. People work very hard to afford seats like these. An older gentleman 2 rows back visibly winced. Not because the statement was surprising, but because it was professionally suicidal. Vanessa nodded thoughtfully. You're absolutely right. Bradley looked relieved for half a second. Tiny mistake. Which is why I'm confused why you're discussing my seat instead of yours. The cabin lost composure instantly. Several passengers laughed. Actual audible laughter. A dangerous development for fragile egos. Bradley's ears turned visibly red. He sat upright, now emotionally invested beyond reason. This is ridiculous. Vanessa adjusted her sleeve calmly. No, boss. This is educational. That line hit harder than unexpected turbulence. A young traveler in seat 4C was now very obviously recording discreetly. Phones had entered the narrative. Never ideal for public foolishness. Bradley leaned toward the aisle. Flight attendant. Yes, escalation. The natural next stage of entitlement when logic has failed. A stylish flight attendant approached professionally. Fitted navy uniform. Silk scarf. Perfect posture. How may I help you, sir? Bradley gestured toward Vanessa with the confidence of a man who had absolutely no idea how badly this would age. I believe there's been a seating error. The attendant blinked once, looked at Vanessa's boarding details already visible on the suite screen, then smiled politely. No, sir. Boss. Miss Cole is seated correctly. That should have ended everything. A reasonable person would have retreated into shame and complimentary nuts. But Bradley had clearly mistaken embarrassment for a challenge. That can't be right. Vanessa leaned back slightly. It consistently is. More laughter. The cabin was now actively against him. An unfortunate but deserved plot twist. Bradley shook his head. Incredible. He muttered loudly. They really let anyone sit up here now. And there it was. No ambiguity left. Just pure premium nonsense. Even the flight attendant's expression shifted slightly. Professional disappointment had entered the chat. Vanessa inhaled slowly, still calm, still composed, still frighteningly controlled. Then something changed. Movement at the front cabin entrance. A tall older man stepped aboard just before doors closed. Late 60s, silver hair, tailored charcoal suit, quiet authority, no wasted motion, just presence, the kind that makes trained staff suddenly stand straighter. The lead flight attendant smiled immediately. "Good evening, sir." Bradley didn't notice, still busy losing the room. The older man scanned the cabin once, then smiled warmly. "Vanessa." Silence detonated softly across first class. Vanessa looked up and smiled. "Good to see you, Richard." Bradley physically froze. Not metaphorically, actually froze. Because the older man walked directly toward Vanessa, stopped beside her seat, and placed a hand lightly on her shoulder like this interaction had happened hundreds of times before. Richard Lawson, founder and chief executive officer of Lawson International Holdings, owner of multiple airline investments, billionaire, and currently greeting the exact woman Bradley had just publicly disrespected. Richard smiled. "Ready for tomorrow's acquisition meeting?" Vanessa nodded. "Board documents are finalized." Bradley looked like someone had unplugged his internal operating system. No movement, no blinking, just existential collapse. Richard finally noticed him. Polite expression. "Everything all right here?" Vanessa smiled lightly. "Oh yes." Brief pause. "Just a passenger confused about assigned seating." "Absolutely surgical." A nearby woman nearly choked, holding back laughter. Bradley opened his mouth. No useful sound emerged. A strong commitment to silence had suddenly found him. Richard studied him briefly, then understood everything almost instantly. That particular type of nonsense is unfortunately recognizable. He nodded once, then looked at Vanessa. "Well," he smiled. "At least the flight started with entertainment. The cabin lost it." Even the flight attendant had to suppress a smile. Bradley's soul visibly exited through emergency row 12. He finally muttered, "I apologize." Vanessa looked at him calmly. "For what specifically?" "Checkmate. Direct. Unavoidable." He swallowed hard, now forced to confront the exact behavior he had hoped to hide behind vague language. "I made an assumption." Vanessa nodded. "Yes, boss. You did." And just like that, his humiliation was complete. No yelling, no revenge speech, no dramatic takedown. Just the quiet destruction of a man publicly defeated by his own arrogance. The rest of the flight was beautifully silent. Bradley spoke to no one, made eye contact with no one, and spent 8 hours trapped in the emotional prison he personally constructed. Meanwhile, Vanessa enjoyed her meal, reviewed financial reports, and casually discussed business strategy with Richard over dessert. By landing, the video had already begun circulating online. Caption included, "White passenger said a black woman didn't belong in first class, then regretted it." Top comment read, "He thought she didn't belong in first class. Turns out she was flying with the people who probably financed it. Because some people think belonging is something they get to decide. Until reality upgrades their education without asking."